Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to go over my 5 favourite lists from WTC in Belgium, Mechelen this year. Hope you enjoy them. So, first list I want to get into today is Jakub Wichrowski's list. Sorry if I butchered your name there, Skark. I'll refer to him as Skark for the rest of this video. He's from Team Poland. Poland won WTC last year, and I think they're the most winningest team of WTC, or ETC before it was the WTC. And Skark is an absolute bullet when it comes to the team format. I think last year he was the highest scorer, or one of the highest scoring players at the WTC, with a Astra Militarum full indirect list. So interesting to see what he took this year. Let's have a look at it. So it's a Renegade Raiders Chaos Space Marine force here. Renegade Raiders gets assault on all their weapons, so everything can advance and shoot in this army, and if they shoot or fight something on an objective, they get +1 AP, which can be pretty brutal with all the guns that this list has to bear. So let's get into it. We have Abaddon the Despoiler. I'm pretty sure in this list he's just going to be pushing the button for rerolls every turn and just making the rest of his army just explode with damage. Getting that consistency with the hits there. Cultist Mob to hold an objective, do Cultist Mob stuff. 2 units of Chaos Spikes. The 2 units here, I think they're just a bit of mission play. They can, if they're on the board edge, they can go back into reserves and then come back onto the board. Renegade Raiders also has a couple of strats that get better if they're unmounted, so I think that's a bit of tech there as well. Really nice little efficient units, really. You get a Power Fist, a couple of special weapons, it's really good. Now onto the damage of the list, we have 3 Predator Destructors with Havoc Launcher, 2 Las Cannons, and Predator Autocannon. That autocannon getting to AP2 when it's shooting at a unit on an objective is pretty brutal. With like flat 3 damage, it's going to really hurt, especially when you can still Dark Pact. There's a Hellbrute further down, so you also get extra benefits when you pact. And yep, extra AP, reroll to hits through Abaddon. These things are going to hit so hard. Then we have even more damage. We have 3 Chaos Vindicators. They have the Demolisher Cannon, which is D6 +3, Strength 14, AP 3, damage D6 shots. Like, absolute crazy amounts of damage that can come out of these things. And with 3 of them being able to advance and shoot, you're going to be getting those angles. If Abaddon can stay up, they also can be re-rolling their hits. Getting extra AP, so being AP 4 on objectives means you just don't get a save against them a lot of the time. Very, very good. The Hellbrute that I talked about is right there. Then we have a unit of 10 Warp Talons. Warp Talons are really interesting in this list because there's not a whole lot of things that can dig something out from behind a wall. So the Warp Talons kind of give you an option for that. And because of their ability to go back into reserves if they fully kill a unit and then they're not in combat anymore, really actually makes them be able to be used multiple times every game, which is going to be very, very valuable for a list like this that can't always see everything. Even with Advance and Shoot, you just can't see everything all the time, so these guys can help dig out those extra things. Also, having a rapid ingress threat is just really nice in any list, so being able to have that here is really good. Then to finish off the list, they have 1 Beast of Nurgle, probably just a deep strike down, get some points, do a sabotage, do a containment, and then probably hold an objective until it dies. They're actually quite annoying to kill as well, so quite a nice little choice there. Then unit of 6 Nurglings. I think these are probably vital to the list. You need something that can infiltrate to block your opponent's infiltrators, to block those scout moves, stop that aggro, because you want to be the one in control. You want to be the one dominating the firing lanes. So having these Nurglings to block your opponent from getting out first if you don't win that dice roll to go first, or second if you need to go second. Just to really set that tempo in your favour. These Nurglings just do that so well. A unit of 6 really stretches out for a very large area as well. Very, very cool unit. And that's list number 1. it's all done and dusted. On to list number 2. We have Comeau from Team Canada. Sorry if I pronounced your last name wrong again. I do not know. He is playing a faction that is near and dear to my heart, which is Tau Empire. He's playing a Montcar list. He has one enhancement, Strike Swiftly, which is the pick 2 units. They both get to pre-game move 6 inches or scout 6 inches. And that's on one of his Fireblades here. It's on this one in the middle. So he has 3 Cadre Fireblades. Those are his only characters. They just give +1 shots to every gun and to the unit they're attached to, which is why you also have 2 gun drones in the unit, because each gun drone then has 3 shots instead of 2, because every gun gets an extra shot. Montcar as well does the exact same thing as Skark's list. It gives everything advance and shoot, or assault, for the first 3 turns of the game. Not the whole game like Renegade Raiders, but you also get lethal hits when you're guided, so you get a bit of a cherry on top for the first 3 turns. Then he has 3 Breacher teams to go with those 3 Cadre Fireblades. Makes total sense. 2 Devilfish, which I think is the perfect amount for this kind of list. The Strike Swiftly unit has to start on the board, not on a Devilfish, to be able to use its ability, so makes total sense only needing the 2 Devilfish. 2 Railgun Hammerheads, which I think is quite interesting here. I thought personally the Ion Cannon Hammerheads are just slightly better, edge out the railgun just from consistency. You're always going to do some damage, whereas I've found with the railguns you either do a lot of damage or no damage, and for me personally it's oftentimes no damage. We have a unit of Pathfinders for the double guide benefits. They also have that infiltrate with the recon drone, so they same as the Nurglings are doing for Skark's list, just blocking that midfield area, stopping your opponent from gaining the tempo and giving yourself that tempo. Then he has a single Piranha with Fusion Blaster double Seekers, and then a unit of 3 Piranhas with 3 Fusion Blasters and 6 Seeker Missiles. This unit can pick up a lot of stuff. If it can get guided turn 1 from a stealth team that's infiltrated up, you can pick up some really big targets with this. It's really interesting. They get a 9-inch pre-game move natively. They have a 14-inch move. They can advance and shoot. You can pay 1 CP in Montcar to auto-advance 6. So that's a 29-inch threat range turn 1 plus a 12-inch range on your gun. It's pretty scary. It's pretty scary. Then we have 2 Riptides to be the backbone of the list, with ion accelerators, double missile drones, and smart missile system. Very common loadout. It's the exact same loadout that I'm running on my Riptides. I'm running 3 Riptides in my list, but I can understand why not, because you'll see in a minute. 2 units of stealth teams with what you would expect, and then the cherry on top of this list, the reason why I wanted to talk about this list in the first place is the Tiger Shark. There is a Tiger Shark in this list, and the reason why that is surprising is at WTC they ruled you cannot shoot the turn you come in from reserves because the base is over 6 inches. Even though Games Workshop in their most recent FAQ have said that flyers, when they come on, ignore the rule where you can't shoot the turn you come on if you're too big, if you overhang the table. WTC have ruled that because the base is over 6 inches, that specific rule didn't get altered, so that you still cannot use the Tiger Shark the turn it comes in. So what Zach's going to have to do here is he's going to have to rapid ingress this on his opponent's turn 2, hope he doesn't have any guns to be able to shoot it, and then fly it forward and unload absolute anarchy on his opponent. The Tiger Shark has an insane amount of guns. There's 2 Cyclic Ion Blasters, 2 Ion Cannons, that's 2 Hammerheads Top Gun, 2 Ion Cannons, 2 Missile Pods, 6 Seeker Missiles, and 2 Sky Spear Missile Racks, which are just decent little gun racks. I think they're damage 3, so they're quite nice little damage. Like, the amount of DACA this thing puts out is absolutely absurd. And that is list number 2. Let's go on to the third list here. We have Eric Forsman from Team USA playing Tyranids Crusher Stampede, so, which I thought was just a really interesting choice. I did not expect, especially from Team USA, to be taking such what I thought was a niche faction, niche detachment in Tyranids, which is the Crusher Stampede. But after looking at the list, reading the rules a few times, I can actually kind of understand it. It's a bit of a stat check, don't get me wrong. There's a bunch of big monsters with either 2 up or 3 up saves, a bunch of wounds, and when you hurt them, they get stronger. It's pretty interesting, so let's go through this list together. So they have Old One Eye. He's just on his own, doesn't have any carnifexes to go with in this list. He does have a 5-up Feel No Pain base, so he's just quite efficient for his points. Then they have the Swarm Lord. He has the a 9-inch aura of everything within 9 inches counts within Synapse. And he also has the new Lord of Deceit ability from the Balanced Data Slate, so within 12 inches, everything, all CP costs 1 more for your opponent. All stratagems cost 1 more CP for your opponents, which is really nice, especially in a list where you're probably going to be fighting in the middle a lot of the game. The Swarm Lord is good at fighting in the middle, and also with these extra abilities. It's just really quite nice. Then for his battle line, he has 1 unit of Gargoyles, which have after they shoot, they can move. And then 2 units of Hormagaunts, which are just fast, nice battle line. OC2, just dump a bunch of OC on a point, flip the objective, not have to worry about sending your big monsters onto those objectives. You can use your Hormagaunts early to stop your opponent's primary, or keeping your big monsters on your expansion objective to keep your primary. So nice little package there, I really like that. Then we have the obligatory Biovore. I think every Tyranid list probably has a Biovore in it. It just doesn't make sense not to. They're 50 points, they hold your home field objective. There's still engage in all fronts. I think behind enemy lines you can still score with 0 OC, so the Biovore can still do little things. It also, you can't end an advance move within 6 inches of the Spore Mine, so you can just use them to move block your opponent and to screen your backfield, anything, so you don't have to hold the rest of your units, especially in an army like Crusher where every one of your units is so many points, like 130, 180 points of your list. So being able to use Spore Mines to screen out instead of using your big things is actually really important in a list like this. Next on the list is there's 2 Exocrines with the Bioplasma Cannons. Good shooting platforms. In Crusher they're pretty nice. Being OC I think 6, I think they're OC 4 base. Being OC 6 is really nice, and then once they get hurt, +1 to hit, hitting on 2s is pretty efficient. So I really like that dynamicacy in Crusher now. If you either keep them at full and then they hold objectives better, or you hurt them to try and stop their OC, but then they actually are better at killing you. Really interesting kind of balance there. Then we have 3 Lictors. Lictors are just efficient. Like, they're lone ops. They can kill a couple of guys. They don't kill a 5-man, but they can help flip an objective. They help you do actions. They're just good, efficient pieces. Then we have a Morlock, which is really interesting here. When it comes down, it gets to, on a 2-up, do some mortals. On a 5-up, forces a battle shock test and does extra mortals. Really interesting. You can also do that when you rapid ingress it. So if your opponent's positioned something that needs to use a strat, you can rapid ingress the Morlock within 12 inches of it, and then force them to, on a 5-up, force them to do a battle shock test. Could fail it, and then maybe they can't CP reroll a charge, or use an ability that, extra shots in the shooting phase or something like that. Really interesting little bit of tech there, and also decent little guns, and just a harassment piece that's just very good. 145 points is pretty cheap for what it brings. Singular Pyrovore, good, has OC, can hold a point, can do an objective. Its gun's really nice. It strips cover after it shoots something, so it makes everything else in your army just hit that little bit harder. Pretty good. Trigon I really love. I want to see lists running 2 or 3 of them. I think they're really funny. They have the ability to 3-inch deep strike instead of having to be 9 inches away. They can do the 3 inches away. So really tricky to deal with. Gonna catch a lot of people out with the rapid ingress. Being able to ingress them 3 inches away on the other side of a wall. And then with Crusher Stampede, you can 1 CP go through walls. So you're just going to trip people up. They're just not going to expect a Trigon coming through a wall, like rapid ingressing and then running through a wall at you. It's going to be interesting to see, and I really can't wait to see how this list performs at the WTC. So the Monday after WTC, I'm going to do a bunch of interesting analysis on what lists did well, what did they play into, were they being bussed a lot, or were they getting put into good matchups. I think a list like this Eric's Crusher Stampede list here is probably going to be going into some harder matchups. It's got a lot of guns, but it also has a lot of pieces to deal with a lot of things. So I think Eric's probably going to have a tough time, but he might still be able to play really, really well. And then to finish off the list, the part that really makes me just happy is triple Tyrannifexes with Rupture Cannons. Rupture Cannons are, I think, strength 18, AP 3, D6 plus 6 damage, so with 2 shots each. So each one of them is basically 2 mini railguns. So you have 6 railguns. They're OC 5 base, so with Crusher, they're OC 7 until they get hurt. So you put 2 or 3 of these on a point, you have OC 14 to 20 on that point. Then if you hurt them to drop their OC down, they're now hitting on 2s. I think I'd rather have the more OC than actually deal with them. And with a 2-up save, I think it's 16 or 18 wounds, they're actually really hard to deal with. And having that higher wound cap means once you get under 9, you actually have +1 to wound. There's not a whole lot you're not already wounding on 2s with the Tyrannifex, but really interesting that you're like, well, I am wounding you on 2s, I don't care. Really cool list, and Tyrannifex is walking through walls just really makes me happy. So really hard to hide from a Tyrannifex when it can peek through a wall, like run through a wall and then still see. So really, really cool list there. Really excited to see how it goes, and excited for how Eric can pilot it. On to the next list. We have another Team USA member, Brian Seipp. Brian was last year on Team Scotland with Innes Wilson. And then Brian must be a US citizen, and I think he moved back to the US. And has now joined Team USA, and they have probably gotten one of their best players, because Brian last year, I think, was up there with Skark being one of the highest scoring players at the WTC. And this year, I expect the exact same from him. He's playing Thousand Suns this year. He has a absolute wild list. Let's get into it. We have Ahriman. He gives free Cabal once per game, so you can get that extra Doom Bolt in when you need to, or that extra move, or free strat if you need it. Whatever situation you need it, when you need it, Ahriman will give it to you. Really cool little piece there. Then we have 2 Exalted Sorcerers on disc. One of them has Lord of Forbidden Law, so that gives you the use the same Cabal twice per turn, but just the second one has to be from him. So this gives you that second warp time if you need it, that second Doom Bolt. So you use your first one with Ahriman for free, and then you can use one through the Lord of Forbidden Law, pay the actual Cabal points, and then do that second Doom Bolt. Really nice. Double Doom Bolt is a brutal combo to be able to do. Then we have Exalted Sorcerer on disc. Oh, sorry, the second one of those. Then we have an Infernal Master with Arcane Vortex. This is similar to the Biovore from the previous list. This auto-populates into your Thousand Suns list. The Infernal Master with his Flamer getting Arcane Vortex for the +1 damage is just absurd. He can kill an Imperial Knight on his own, and without that much luck going on his side, especially if he's attached to the Rubric squad to get the rerolls. He's absurd. Absolutely absurd. Then we have Magnus the Red next. He's obviously the Warlord. He's a big, beefy dude. He's very strong. He's a lot of good guns. He's a force multiplies the entire army. He's fast. He's really good for a couple of the secret missions late game if he needs them. Just great all-rounder. Zangor Shaman. This guy's cute. He's 60 points. He's not too expensive. I think he gives you a single Cabal point. But the main thing is what he can do is, if you're going to use the Cabal for outer line of sight shooting with psychic weapons, he can be the guy that has to see the unit to be able to use that Cabal. So instead of sacrificing one of your big sorcerers, or one of the more important sorcerers, you can sacrifice this guy, still do something with him, and then shoot with your Arcane Vortex through a wall. Shooting an indirect flamer just seems absurd to me, but that's what Thousand Suns can do. So only 1 unit of rubrics here, which seems very, very sparse, but that's what you got to do to fit the rest of this. What's coming in this list, which is 3 Mutalith Vortex Beasts. These guys are an absolute bugger to get rid of. They are, I think, 14 wounds with a 5-up Feel No Pain, 4-up save, 5-up Invulnerable save. They're just a bunch of chonk, good in melee, have a decent gun. It's like a one-shot railgun, which is, again, quite a good gun, to be fair. And yeah, just chonky, put a couple of those on an objective. You're actually holding primary. Thousand Suns do sometimes have an issue with holding primary in games, so being able to actually lock down that primary in games and then be able to bully with them from that point is actually really nice. And then the other part of Chonk in this list, well, quickly first, there's 2 units of Chaos Spawn and a unit of Cultists. That'll be the hold objectives, do actions, that kind of stuff in this list. And then to finish off the list, we have 2 Forge Fiends with Ectoplasma Cannons. So it is Magnus, 3 Vortex Beasts, and 2 Forge Fiends. So it's like Wizard Knights, is what it's been coined by the community, this list. And I just love it. I think it's really interesting, really different way to play Thousand Suns instead of the 4 to 5 units of 5 rubrics, teleporting around and doing stuff. This list is a lot more just in your face. Hey, I've got the damage, you can't come out. So really interesting, different way of playing. Brian's an absolute gun. I'm really excited to see how he plays. Jeremy Atkinson from StatCheck fame and one of the players for Team Canada this year is bringing a very similar list. So I'm interested to see how both of them play this year. On to our final list. We have beautiful Manny Cheema's not Thousand Suns, Blood Angels list here with Imperial Agents. He's playing them as Sons of Sanguinius. He has a Chaplain with Jump Pack, Commander Dante, which is, I think he's actually really interesting. After I saw Manny had him, I was like, ooh, went and jumped on the GW app, had a look at him, I was like, I can see it. He hits really hard, gives a couple of nice little buffs to his unit that he's in, and he's actually pretty hard to kill, because when he goes with the Sanguinary Guard, the Sanguinary Guard give him +1 to wound, not +1 to wound, -1 to wound, which just makes it really hard to deal with. 2-up saves, and then access to Armor Contempt makes them a bit of a trouble to deal with. Then we have, to finish up the characters, a Sanguinary Priest with Jump Pack. He gives a 5-up Feel No Pain and +1 AP and melee to the unit that he's attached to. So great abilities, especially in Suns. So those Chainswords will be Strength 6 or 7 and AP 2. Absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. And with a 5-up Feel No Pain to boot, it just makes them that a little bit too hard to shift. Next we have 2 units of Assault Intercessors with Jump Packs. Fairly just ubiquitous units now. They're both, for their points, they're very strong. Like they do mortals on the charge. In Suns, they're Strength 6, AP 1 with a bunch of attacks. I think they have 5 attacks each in Suns on the charge. So it's just very pushed out. Actually, 20 attacks plus 4 Power Fist attacks. It's just a lot of damage coming through after taking 2 or 3 incidental mortals on the way in. They can actually punch up into some pretty heavy units for an 80-point unit. Then we have some Death Company Marines here with Jump Packs. We have a unit of 10 and 2 units of 5. I'm assuming the Chaplain goes with the unit of 10 and they probably Rapid Ingress. They all have Inferno Pistols and Power Fists, all 20 of them, which is a very common loadout here. The Death Company always reroll hits, so the Inferno Pistols also always reroll hits. It's not just melee only, which is what you would expect it to be. So those Inferno Pistols get full hit rerolls, which is pretty nice. They're only 6-inch range, but if you're Rapid Ingressing down, get to move 12 inches and then shoot, you could quite likely be within 6 inches. And then they hit like a brick in combat, because Sons of Sanguinius. 2 units of 5, again, just to trade, I assume. Not having OC unless they're within 12 inches of the Chaplain makes them a little bit trickier to use, but I'm sure Manny, being one of the best players in the world, winning the Warhammer Championship last year, probably knows what he's doing, so I'm going to expect that he knows exactly how to play those perfectly. Then, as alluded to earlier, a unit of 10 Sandguard and 2 units of 5 Sanguinary Guard. I'm assuming Dante goes with the 10, and then that block just becomes an absolute chore to deal with. Having another 10 Inferno Pistols, 8 Blades and 2 Power Fists, and then the banner, so the OC2, -1 to wound, with the ability to get Armor of Contempt on a 2-up save. they're really difficult to deal with. And they hit like an absolute truck, especially with Dante attached. 2 other 5-mans to again be some more skirmishes. Really nice there. And then to finish off the Blood Angels part of this list is a unit of 10 Vanguard veterans with jump packs. They have the Vanguard veteran weapons and, interestingly, storm shields. So they all have a 4-up invulnerable save. I'm assuming the jump pack Sanguinary Priest gets attached to these units, to this unit, and they have a 3-up save, 4-up invulnerable save, and then 5-up Feel No Pain. So he's really gone for some durable melee units in this list. So he's got the Sanguinary Guard brick, he's got the Death Company brick, he's got the Vanguard Veteran brick, and he's got these other little units to be like, well, first off I need to trade, and then you bring out something bigger to kill my unit, then I bring something bigger in to kill your unit. So he's always one-upping every trade. It's a really interesting way of playing, and then he can also just stage his whole army turn 2 and then just charge everything turn 3 because everything has a 12-inch move in this list. Very cool list. Really excited to see how it plays. And then to finish it off, here's some allied units. Here's a Calidus Assassin with the Lord of Deceit aura. She is actually very, very good for a melee army into other melee armies. Being able to stop interrupts, well, not stop, but add 1 CP to interrupts. Holding 3 CP up to be able to counter offensive is actually really difficult to do a lot of the time, or even a 2 CP heroic intervention now that it's down to 1. Putting it back up to 2 CP can be a game changer. Not getting Overwatch is another big one. It's like, oh, no, your Overwatch now costs 2 CP. Is it still worth doing? Maybe not. So just all those little things that the Calidus can actually help you with in a melee matchup can be really, really important. And then a unit of Voidsmen, because there is nothing to hold this guy's home field objective, so they are there to do precisely that, is what I assume. Just screen out and hold his home field objective. Calidus can do the same early game, then runs forward late to use that Lord of Deceit aura and really change up some games. And that's it for the list today, but there's one more thing that I wanted to go on about, and that is the Fantasy League, or the Fantasy Entourage for WTC this year. So this is a Fantasy League. You pick 8 players with a few conditions that you have to meet, and I don't know if you win actually anything apart from just maybe some clout, some bragging rights with your friends of, can you pick the 8 best players within these restrictions. So these are the restrictions you have to go through. So it's we'll read it out here. Pick a squad of 8 players that needs to adhere to the following rules. Maximum of 1 player from a given country. Each faction can only appear once in a team, as per WTC rules. So that means you can't have Chaos Demons as an ally and then Chaos Demons as their own faction, or vice versa with anything else. That's what they're meaning there. 3, maximum of 2 players from each seed. So you can't have 8 players and that can't all be from the 8 best countries in the world. So that's really cool. It makes it really interesting to build your list, which I'll go into mine in a minute. And no substitutions can be made throughout the event. So once you've locked in your 8, you cannot change your 8. You put them in, and then you're like, cool, that's me done. Let's see how they go. So really, really cool little fun thing to do here. I'm really interested to see what you guys can come up with in the comments below of who would you pick for your 8. I'm about to go over mine in a second, so hopefully I can give you some inspiration, and then in the comments below throw in who you think would be your 8 for the Fantasy League. So first off in mine, I have Brian Seipp, who we went over his list earlier with the Thousand Suns from Team USA. He was an absolute gun, as I said, played astoundingly well last year and was one of the top scorers. And then I had, who I believe was the top scorer last year at WTC, Skark, whose list we also went over first, with his Chaos Space Marines and Chaos Demons from Poland. So I have the 2 highest scorers from last year, so, definitely trying to start off pretty strong here. Then I have Liam VSL from Belgium, playing Eldari and Drukhari in an Ari list. He has been known by a few people, or called by a few people, the best 40k player in the world. He won LGT, I believe, and a few other just notable events around the place. Absolutely amazing player. I think he's going to do amazing things for Belgium this year. So wanted to put him in. He's a Seed 2 team, so it's like perfect to slot in there. And then because my team, Team New Zealand, is a Seed 2 team, I had to pick someone from Team New Zealand for the other Seed 2. Is there other options? 100%, but there is no way I'm not picking someone from New Zealand. And I decided to go with Jonty here, Jonty Larson. He's playing our Necrons this year, playing a Hypercrypt list with Double Monolith and the Silent King. Jonty is an amazing player. He plays this Necron list incredibly well. He knows it in and out. He's played more games than I think anyone from New Zealand, so he is the best bet I have at bringing home the points, as long as he doesn't get bust for a few rounds, but his list is always going to bring home some points. Hypercrypt Necrons never just get 20-0'd out of nowhere, so I have a lot of faith in Jonty here, and I expect him to do great things. On to Seed 3. The first one here, I have Mitch Beard from the Sister Act podcast, playing Sisters of Battle, obviously, and he's from Iceland. So, great player, one of the best Sisters players in the world. Got to give it a go. His podcast is great. I've listened to it a bunch. I don't actually play Sisters, but the in-depth detail they go into Sisters really makes them interesting to understand how the army plays. So really good stuff there. Give them a listen if you're interested in learning more about Sisters. Our Sisters Battle player, Michael, also talked to Mitch a bunch about getting lists. I think their lists are identical. There might be one or two little tweaks of difference, but they're both bringing Bringers of Flame Sisters list without Morven Val. So yeah, hopefully Mitch can bring home some points for Team Iceland there. My second Seed 3 team is Andrew Beattie. I'm a Tau main, so I had to bring a Tau list into my top 8. So I've got Andrew's list here. He's bringing a Carrion list that's not too dissimilar to the list that I'm taking to War Masters this year for WTC. So it fitted in perfectly in a Seed 3. I believe Andrew can really bring home some glory points for Tau here and bring me back some points for my Fantasy League. Now onto the Seed 4 teams. This one got kind of tricky, as I didn't know any of the teams very well, so I had to kind of just go onto the lists, see what lists vibed, what factions I had left in my pool, and pick the list that worked best for me. So I went for Francisco Ventura's Orcs list, which is just a Warhorde list, bunch of characters, kind of what you would expect for a Warhorde list, but very sound, stable Orcs list that can just go into a lot of things and bring home points. So that's kind of what I was thinking for my Seed 4 teams. Bring these lists that are like a bit more stable to bring home the points that you would expect them to. Can they bring home big points? Yes, but are they probably always going to do that? Probably not, so let's go for something that's just a bit more stable. So that's Francisco from Portugal there with his Orcs. Then for my last pick here, I went for Alexander. Not going to pronounce your last name because I don't actually know how to pronounce that, and I don't want to embarrass myself. And he is playing Space Wolves, and he is from Cyprus. So this is the Wolf Joe list that became quite popular in, I think, America, and there is, I think, a bit of it in the UK as well. This is a bit of a standard, just Stormlance, Space Wolves, good stuff list. So I'm hoping Alexander can do me proud here and bring me home some points. And yeah, so that is my 8 factions there and my 8 players. This was actually really fun to go into all the lists, kind of see what people were playing and see what everyone was doing. So hopefully you can, in the comments, put the list the names, maybe just the 8 names that you have, or even just like the 8 countries, or however you want to do it. Yeah, and well, that's it for me, guys. Thank you guys for watching this far. It's been a hot minute since I've recorded anything. I ended up getting married, and then a few other things came up, and then WTC prep kind of took over. So really excited to get this video out for you guys. I've got a couple more in the works. I'm going to try and do a vlog of my journey to and from WTC. It's a 27-hour flight over. We get in 3 days before War Masters starts, then I play War Masters for 3 days, then I have 4 days of the coaching for the team, and then I have 2 days of holiday, and then I fly back straight to work with another 26 hours of flying in between. So now, really looking forward to that. And yeah, get your fantasy leagues in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one, eh? Catch ya!